Hey guys, what's going on? I got my Expedition over here in Steve's shop and I'm getting ready to replace the tie rod ends on it. They're not gone yet, but this truck has 168,000 miles on it. A lot of it's highway. I'm always traveling all over the place doing videos for you guys. It's on the highway quite a bit. It's just one of those things where it's preventative maintenance. I don't want to be pulling out of a parking lot and just have one of them break on me and kind of be stranded. So I'm going to dive into this and show you guys how it's done. I've already done one side of my Expedition, and the OE tie rod end doesn't have a grease fitting in it. It's self-contained from the factory. This is the one that came off my Expedition. I bought a Moog one. I like to buy the ones that come with the grease fitting. I got to put the grease fitting in this one so that I can kind of zip around it when I'm doing an oil change and re-grease all the stuff. You know, if you can get a little grease in here, you can add some grease to it. It helps to push like the dirt out of there, and it keeps them well lubricated. And it's like an amusement park ride. If you go to an old amusement park and you see a ton of grease on those gears on a ride that's 100 years old, there's a reason why it lasted. Same kind of thing. So we're getting ready to change the tie rod in my Expedition. So what you want to do first is grab some PB Blast or some kind of penetrating oil. You want to put penetrating oil on the nut right here, and also on the nut right there at the bottom. So that'll soak in. It'll make it easier for you to back that nut off the tie rod end and also the one at the bottom right here. So you're gonna need a 15/16 wrench to break the nut free right here. And that's all you want to go. You just want to loosen it a little bit. And then you're gonna come back with it so it's touching the end of the tie rod end here. So that when you take this out and you screw the new tie rod all the way back in, it's going to come right up to that nut, and it'll be in the same position that it was before you took it off. So I'm going to grab my 21 millimeter socket, and I'm going to take off the nut at the bottom right here. All right, so this is a 21 millimeter socket. Kind of turn your wheel away from you like this. Give yourself some more room. So what you want to do is you want to grab, like I have a big hammer right here. You want to grab a hammer like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to shock the knuckle right here. When you shock the knuckle, when you swing the hammer, it'll make this it'll make the tie rod come loose when it's inside the knuckle. I'll show you how to do that. And it just came loose, so you can take the bottom, tap it up, so you get your tie rod free from the knuckle and kind of hang it on the side like that. So what I'm going to do now is I have a small tape measure. I'm going to measure my tie rod end before I take it off. So I'm going to measure from the ends of my tie rod end to the middle, and it's 5.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is, this is the OE part. I'm going to measure the Moog tie rod end that I have and make sure that that is 5.5 inches to the center. Because when I tighten the tie rod end back up and it hits that jam nut that I haven't moved, you should be right on the money. So here's our new tie rod end. So I'm going to go to the middle of that. And it is 5.5 inches as well. So it's cast right and it's the same length. So it should go on, no problem. So it's 5.5 inches right to the middle of the grease fitting hole to the end of the tie rod end. So it's machined the same. So when we screw this tie rod end back in and it hits that jam nut, you haven't changed, I shouldn't have changed any of the adjustment in the front end. Okay, so I'm getting ready to crack the tie rod end loose here. I had to put 2 sets of vice grips on the end of the tie rod to hold it in place so that I could crack it loose, kind of being a little stinker. So you want to count your turns when you take the tie rod off. So when it comes down, 1 turn, 1, 2, 3, and the other tie rod was 23 turns to take it off. So I'm going to count this one, how many turns it goes. like 23.5 on this one. We had already gone one full turn. Before we started the video, we kind of cheated a little bit to crack that thing loose because it was a bear. But we had about 23 turns. And what we're gonna do now is go grab the other tie rod in, set that up in the vise, and put the grease fitting in it. So I'm putting the grease fitting into my new tie rod in. You gotta be careful when you're doing these. You don't, when you screw them in, get them to kind of catch by hand a little bit. So this one's caught by hand. These things can be a little stinker getting them in. If you cross thread these, it's gonna ruin your day. Because you're gonna be threading the thing and trying to fix it. You don't want to fix it. You don't have to. So this one happens to be a 7mm wrench. So when I put some pressure on the top of this grease fitting, while I'm slowly turning it, so I can get it to catch. And take your time, don't rush this. So you just want to take your time, put some pressure on it, slowly turn, and you want to bottom it out. You don't want to, apply so much pressure that you strip it. I got a little bit more to go here. So this is caught, it's going in pretty good. So in case you're wondering where Steve is, he's cameraman tonight, and I'm Steve.
I'm hiding tonight. Tony's working hard.
Steve wanted to drink beer and film me, so that's what he's doing. All right, we're good. We're bottomed out. You don't need to muscle this thing in. Just make it snug, and now let's go throw it on the truck. Put my tie rod end back on. I'm going to use the wire brush to clean any of the gunk out of these threads. They're not that bad, but anything to make your life a little easier. Don't turn that nut. You don't want to hit that. You want that to stay in the position that it's in. That's kind of why I go around, clean these threads out. It'll make your life a lot easier when you're trying to screw that tie rod end back in. So now that I have the threads cleaned on my inner tie rod in, I'm going to hit it with some PB Blaster, put a little spray on it so that it goes in a little bit easier. So you have my new tie rod in, you're going to screw it back in the same amount of turns that it came out with. So if it came out 23, 24 turns, you're going to screw it back in. It should go back in 23, 24 turns. If it's the same length as your wee pack. Just take your time getting it caught. There we go. Okay, so when you're at the nut, you come over, put your tie rod end back in. I'll take my vice grips off, I don't need those, and I just hit my thumb, Steve. Watch your thumb.
Watch your thumb, Tony.
I'm kidding. Alright, those are gone. So the original nut was a self-locking nut. It didn't have a cotter pin on it, but the new Moog
Castle nut.
the new Moog tie rod ends they have a castle nut and a cotter pin. I kind of like going this route and using what they gave me, because when you put the castle nut in on, it has all these little holes and dimples, and the cotter pin's going to go through and lock it in place. So you catch this by hand, and as you can see right here, there's a hole in the tie rod end. So I'm going to catch it by hand and kind of crank down on it. All right, now I'm bottomed down. I'm gonna grab my 21mm socket. And you can tighten it up. You wanna make sure it's snug. You don't have to muscle it on. And then, all right, so my hole is right here. So you're gonna line up the hole with the slot on the castle nut. So just gonna do a whisker more. And the hole is right there. So now just put your cotter pin in.
I think you want a little too much.
Yeah, I might have gone a little too much. Okay. So take your cotter pin, and I just lined up the notch with the hole in the cotter pin. So what's going on here is, I'm getting to be an old bastard. I've got these bifocal contacts in that I still can't frickin' see with. But Steve got the laser surgery and he still can't see.
I can see.
I'll poke you in the other eye.
Yeah, right. So he's going to bend his cotter pin back now.
Yeah, we're going to bend the cotter pin back now. So you want to take a pair of pliers or your side cutters and wrap it around like that. And then, watch your eye, you should be wearing safety glasses. Cut the other end off, and that's in there. It's not going to go anywhere.
And he's just got to grease it now.
Yeah, we're going to grab some grease, and we're going to grease our new grease fitting. And let me grab the grease gun. So I'm going to grease the tie rod in right here. You want to watch the boot expand. You don't need to see the grease come shooting out of everywhere. Just make sure that it expands and that there's enough in there. And you can see it. Watch the video, and you can see it start to mushroom. You don't need it to be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters. You just need it to swell up a little bit.
Yeah, you can see it swelling.
Yeah, it should be good right about there. And you're good. Right, so you should be all set. The other side is done the exact same way. I recommend doing them in pairs because if this one has failed you on one of the sides, the other one's more likely going to fail shortly after. And what we're going to do now is Steve and I have a tow bar in the garage. We actually did a video on this, so we're going to adjust the alignment with the tow bar. And what I'll do is I'll put that video in the description of this video. If you want to buy a tow bar, if you happen to have one, you don't know how to use it, we're going to set it with the tow bar. It should be spot on, but even though I'm doing that, I'll probably bring it into the tire shop this week and have the tire shop throw it on the alignment machine and just make sure everything's all set. I just put a brand new set of tires on this truck about a week ago, and I was trying to get to this first before the tires, but one of my tires started to split on me because I'm cheap. So I had to buy tires, and now I'm getting to this, so I'm kind of doing it in reverse. But put your wheels back on, look up the torque specs, make sure you torque the lug nuts when you put your wheels back on. And when you're done, get it aligned to the tire shop if you don't have a tow bar to do that. So I hope you guys liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you have a question, leave a comment, and we'll reply back to you. Thanks for watching.